Hi, everyone. Welcome to Trader Talk with Disciplined Mind Trading. If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Bobby.
I'm Steve, and today we're doing the N in canceling, the hunt for new market leaders.
Let's jump right on into it.
The N in canceling, newer companies, new products, new industries, new management. We are looking for companies that change the way we work, live, and play. The N in canceling equals the hunt for new market leaders. N is one of the most important ingredients in the canceling acronym. I think people think about it, but it doesn't get talked about in detail enough.
It's
Everybody,
harder. It's harder for people to conceptualize because it's not such a concrete thing. Like it's not like a number that they can just say, "Oh, I just got to look for this." It takes a lot more work.
I think it's a little bit more bro science, like people understand it, but they don't understand
The, the
what the true
principles behind it.
exactly. You could think anything is a new market leader, but
hmm
until you really think about it, or what's really new, you got to really dig deep and really look at the meaning behind what the true market leaders are and what the N is. So and how it affects and there's a difference between just being new and being a true market leader. And that what we're really looking for in this grouping is true market leaders. So this is really what differentiates canceling from value investing in any other systems. It's not that they're bad in identifying it. This is the core of what canceling is about.
So when we talk about obviously getting down to the principles of it, um, to really truly understand the principles of canceling and what makes the N in canceling, what makes the N in canceling what it is, we really got to start off with economics, and specifically we also have to start talking about capitalism. And what capitalism is doing is it's creating the environment that requires companies to innovate and differentiate, and that is for them to become a true market leader.
Yep. So we live in a free market capitalistic society. We have minimal government intervention. I know people are going to look at me like I'm crazy and want to debate that point, but that's not what this video is about. One of the key aspects of a free market capitalistic society is that there is creative destruction and constant innovation. Those are the hallmarks of America and what our economic system is doing. It sounds, fancy and great, but what does that really mean? In our society, companies are in a constant battle with other companies to come up with the best way to deliver a product or service. You have companies coming up with all new products and services, and some that create all new industries. This is the point of our economic system. It has been for over 200 years. In the private sector, there is constant innovation. And in business, if you don't accept that reality, a competitor is going to come and they're going to serve your customers, and soon you're going to be out of business. We accept this reality in sports, but for some reason, we don't want to accept it that this is the truth in business, that if you're not the best, you're not going to thrive. Lagging businesses don't last very long in our society, unfortunately. So our country is always improving its economic situation through our private sector and the companies making these changes. Thus, these companies get rewarded economically. And if the company is public, that should mean their stock should go higher. Does that make a lot of sense, Campos?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's where it kind of leads us to this next topic, which is all right. So if you are the leader in your industry and you are beating out the competition, well, then how are you rewarded? And you just kind of touched on it before. You're rewarded financially, and by being rewarded financially, that means your company is making more money, and the financials of your company are continuing to improve. And when you start to grow the financials of a company, this will equal a period of time, normally 6 to 18 months, where that growth kind of just creates this environment where you're just going to continue to grow, but there's going to be no competition from all the other laggard companies, and essentially.
Right, right. Because you're operating in an environment that you created yourself by creating such a great product or service. The competition is going to be like 6 to 18 months, depending on the industry, to catch
Mm-hmm.
up. And for example, recently look at the massive financial change that COVID has caused negatively to the travel, restaurant industries. There were positive impacts to supermarket companies like Zoom, delivery services, and others. And as I just said, one example that had a positive impact, COVID had a positive impact on, was Zoom. And they're really the poster child company for benefiting from the pandemic. So let's dig in deep into Zoom's financials. I mean, Campos, this was one of your favorite companies. Is it amazing how much this company's, from a financial perspective, has
Mm-hmm.
changed?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So their earnings per share, actually their earnings, total earnings as a company, went from 21 million in 2019 to 271 million in 2020. That is an astonishing. I don't think I've ever seen a company grow that much. So you're talking about over 4,000%. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the company's owner's equity increased by $3 billion. Their cash position went from 833 million in 2019 to 3.8 billion in 2020. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, they did raise some capital, but a large portion of this increase was the result of the improved business environment and the unique business that they have that took advantage of the pandemic. The financial improvement from the pandemic has had a massive impact on Zoom and will affect the company for years to come. I mean, really think about growing profits that much and the amount of cash they have on their balance sheet. Even if they lose money for a few years, they'll be able to survive, and that's really really creating a really stable foundation for this business. So that's just one effect. My favorite area to highlight when you're talking about the N in CanSlim is what's my favorite. How many times do I say this? This is
Oh, how it changes the way we work, live, or play.
yes. Campos
Right.
Campos doesn't. He just gets prompted, and he knows exactly what I was going
Yeah.
to say.
That's the old William J. O'Neill saying.
Yeah.
That's what he told everybody to look for.
Yep, and that's exactly what you have to look for. These are companies that will have so Zoom was just listen. Zoom definitely changed the way we work and live. So it might not have
And
been
play to an extent. During the
yeah,
quarantine, I know a lot of people who are having Zoom trivia, Zoom drinking hours, Zoom I mean, they changed
okay,
everything.
okay, beautiful. So that is a typical that's a true market leader. It's not a company that's just getting a 6 to 18 month reprieve. This is a company that's going to probably benefit for years on end. Yeah, it's because it is actually changing the way we work, live, and play, and it's just not changing the environment of the industry a little bit. So these are companies that have periods of outperformance of more than 6 to 18 months. These aren't companies that are just bringing change to an industry. They're truly changing the world, the way we're just discussing about Zoom. So some examples of companies that are changing the world are Apple, a company that has had 20 years of outperformance, really starting with the iPod, which is even before Campos's time.
How before my time?
Yeah.
What do you mean? How is wait. No. We're gonna pause in there. How
Now,
is the I
some of our listeners might not even know what an iPod is.
yeah, but the iPod was my time specifically.
Right. But if we have people in their early 20s, they don't know what an iPod is probably.
I don't know. I think you're a little off.
Okay.
If you're in your early 20s, you 100% know what an iPod is.
Okay. All right. And then they moved into the iPhone and they've just been innovating for years and years and years. And you see it in their stock performance. I mean, the company's gone up thousands of percent. Amazon, the same in home delivery and with their AWS services for businesses. Another company that has outperformed for 20 years and still lacks large competitors really in the home delivery industry. Facebook, they have Instagram. Really, what competitors do they have at scale right now? They have smaller competitors, but nothing at scale.
Snapchat would be their only,
But they're not at scale the way that either Facebook or Instagram
just a
is.
different. It's
Yeah,
reaching a different
agreed,
demographic. That's what it
agreed.
comes down
And
to.
then you have other companies like Tesla, Netflix, Google DocuSign, etc. You have older companies that in their time back in the day were true market leaders, Walmart, Home Depot, Microsoft, eBay, PayPal, etc. So we were familiar with these companies and their stocks, and they've had incredible performance, but it isn't by accident. In addition, these are all stocks that changed people's lives. So basically, as you saw with the financial situation with Zoom, the first footprints you see in the true market leaders will be finding companies that have right out of this is right out of How to Make Money in Stocks, current big or accelerating quarterly earnings and sales per share. So Zoom was growing rapidly before the pandemic. Its sales were growing by 96 to 78%, truly outstanding sales performance before the pandemic. And then once the pandemic hit, this is crazy, their sales went from ranging from 169% to 369%. And that's on top of growing at, between 96 and 78%. That's really astonishing growth. After the new environment, their earnings jumped from, this is crazy, 275%. Their sales were growing at 96 and 78%. Their earnings were growing 278% in 2019. In 2020, their earnings per share went up to basically 1,000% or over 1,000% per quarter,
Mm-hmm.
which is really crazy. So these are the signals that something new is changing in these stocks and something new is going on. So these are the characteristics you're looking for. Like I said, I realize that Zoom is an extreme example. I realize it's a market leader. I said it before. It's a true market leader, probably the truest market leader in the during the pandemic. But usually, true market leaders have current sales and earnings growth at a minimum of 20 to 25%. To potentially increases like Zoom over 100%, even 1,000%, like Zoom did in their earnings and sales. So these are the breadcrumbs you're looking for, and we're looking to find in true market leaders. You want to see these companies that are growing consistently quarter over quarter, 20, 30, 40, 50%. What do you think about that, Campos?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things I do want to say, because I think we're looking at this a lot from just finding these companies based on financials. And there's the flip side to this. And I think this is the piece that everybody at any level of trading really, really can do, no
Can I
matter
stop
how.
you? We're not getting to the charts just yet.
No, no, no. It has nothing to
Oh,
do with
okay.
charts.
Okay.
Nothing to do with
Okay.
charts.
Okay. Perfect.
Any of these companies that we just spoke about, whether it was Apple, whether it was Amazon, whether it was Zoom, you could even look at some of the other big companies, Tesla, Peloton, some of the other big leaders of last year, Chewy. I'd find it very hard to believe that most traders were unaware of these companies on a personal level, that you were unaware these companies existed. And yes, you could absolutely, and there's a big piece of this is finding these within the fundamentals throughout your weekly routine, sitting down and saying, wow, this company is doing something different clearly because their sales are great, they're a leader in their industry. But you as a person also have to look around you and say, what is changing the way that I work, live, and play? And anytime that I find something out there that I'm like, perfect example. I don't know if Steve, you remember when I was in Oklahoma, Carvana was
Yes.
I kept
Wait.
seeing it
And well, there's
all.
another one there too. Sprouts.
Sprouts. I just kept seeing the company, all of their billboards everywhere, and I was like, what the hell is this company? So I just looked it up, and then I saw like car vending machines. I was like, well, this is definitely the new. This is definitely new. And it was the first thing I did when I got home that day. I logged on to MarketSmith and I put the ticker in and I just started looking. So the point of what I'm saying is look around you and see what is changing the way you work, live, and play. And find out if that company is a publicly traded company. Sit down and then do the research on it. Because believe it or not, a lot of these companies that are true market leaders are right in front of you, right
Well,
in
look
front
at
of
what
your
we were just
face.
saying before. Apple with the iPod,
Yep.
the
Yep.
iPhone. Even before then, this was an easy one. BlackBerry. Just the way
Yep.
that the cell phone industry, and for a while, believe it or not, you weren't even around for this. The cell phone industry was massive in the 90s. You
Mm-hmm.
had companies like Motorola,
I was
um,
around
e-
for it.
even some of the yeah, right. Even
I
some
was.
of
What do you mean? I was born
even
before
like the
'91.
Verizons and companies like that did extremely well because of the growth in the cellular industry. So
Mm-hmm.
you could find those, as Campo said, just looking around and examining your life. Another way, IBD, Market Smith, um, even some of the videos we make, the charts that we have and that we talk about in this
Stock of the week.
podcast.
We
And
haven't done those
yep,
in a while, but stock
yep,
of the week.
yep, and Discord in our Discord
Yes.
channel. That's another place you could find it, where all the people that we
Communicate
interact
with
with
on
on
this. Yeah.
Discord are talking about stocks there too. So, as I said before, I thought you were going to go into the charts. It's time for you to go into the charts. So
Yeah,
explain to everyone.
absolutely. No, I felt like we left a very, very big piece out that had to be stated. We'd just be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about that. So, all right. So charts. Charts are extremely, extremely important because that is the timing of everything. And we're gonna jump over to Market Smith. So we've been talking about it this entire episode. Zoom. So we're looking at Zoom right here on a weekly chart, and just like Steve said, you could see kind of all the earnings and everything down here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little zooming in. No, well, I guess pun intended. I'll say. Oh, having a little technical difficulty. There we go. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better on the screen. All right, so the chart is what is going to help you with timing. The charts are going to give you the best probability based on historic data to enter and exit a stock. And that's why we're worried about faces and all of these things. So, perfect example would be looking at Zoom. So, you guys saw before, actually, you know what? I probably zoomed in just a little too much. Looking
You what?
at, there we
Zoomed
go.
in?
Yeah. You weren't even paying attention. I already made that joke before.
Uh,
Oh, man. All right. So,
don't
you,
you realize
again,
I think I make all the funny jokes?
no, I just realized that once you're done talking, you just turn off and don't even pay attention
No,
to
I
anything
was
I
writing something
say.
down. I'm not going to lie.
All
Uh,
right, so you can see all the earnings on the bottom of the screen. I mean, like they were clearly putting up some great numbers this early on in their public offering phase. So, but this is why the chart's important. You could see that from what was, let's just say, the June of 2019 till the beginning of 2021, it was a very, very difficult time to be owning this stock. And this is where I like to talk about opportunity cost. You know, between this period to this period, yeah, somebody who bought here and held through this whole time frame would have done great, but a lot of stocks don't turn around as quickly as Zoom does. So the important thing is you don't want to be stuck into some of these stocks that may be going flat or even worse down for months, even years, before they make big moves. So the chart is there to let you know when is the best and most opportune time to put a position on and hopefully benefit from a company's new. And I did just mention that before, like, most companies don't turn around this quickly. Most companies, their I guess you call it like due diligence phase, like that institutional due diligence phase is sometimes close to 3 years. You could be making a lot of money in that 3 year time period while something's going sideways. So that's why charts are just extremely, extremely important to know when to enter and exit on a
well,
position.
Campos has seen this. My biggest problem is I'm way too early a lot of times, and
Mm-hmm.
that's being wrong too. So if you're early, sometimes if you're early, you're wrong because it sometimes is so more difficult to hold a stock during that phase before the rest of the world figures it out. And if you're
Yep.
too late, sometimes it's the same thing.
So
So
this is probably a better example of when something isn't as great and as quick as Zoom, Spotify, and this is another company where you could start to see, the earnings were looking good. Zoom out a little bit for the sales, but I mean the company's fundamentals are starting to look pretty good. The company was definitely new and was definitely providing a service better than most people in the industry, and it was doing it in a different way. But you could see there was such a long period of time where everybody I knew was getting on Zoom, getting on Spotify. It was like the biggest talk in terms of streaming, yet didn't mean it was making any money. And it wasn't until this chart told you here, double bottom base, breaking out on volume, that the stock then became profitable for the trader. So just another example. I mean, there's countless examples of why you should really be waiting for the chart to tell you to enter a stock versus just buying it because you're like, well, they're the leader, they're the new. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be profitable. The institution's got to believe that as well.
Yep. So one of the things, a chart gets to be a little bit more advanced, but one of the things I really wanted to point out, and one of the reasons why I did this, when you're starting out as a CanSlim investor, some of the concepts, like some of the charts and other things that you do inside of CanSlim can be very complicated and very difficult. This is not a complicated process, finding something that's new. In fact, when I started teaching Campos how to trade stocks, one of the things I had him do, and by the way, this is also goes to for my friend Tortoise King.
Shout out
This
Tortoise
is the
King.
yeah, this is the next step in your list that you're going to do. So what I had Campos do is make a list of regular companies, and then I begin to help them out with the new, because this is where you find the winners. And
Yeah.
this is where you find, again, the true market leaders. Anybody can figure this out. You don't have to be an investor. You don't have to read IBD. You can figure this out. And this is one of the wonderful things about investing in. You don't have to make it complicated. If people just focused on this, just the end, understood the earnings, the sales, and then understood charts a little bit, it'd make their lives a whole lot easier. What do you have to say about that?
So this was actually brought up in Discord. Actually, you know what? Tortoise King brought this up. So I had come across actually a company that recently broke out, Revlo or whatever it is, and I was just talking about the company because I did the old like William J. O'Neill. I started asking everybody around me about it, and I started to gain some conviction in it. And he said, "Doesn't matter. It's only about fundamentals. Follow the CanSlim traits. Follow the chart. Follow this. The stock will tell you when to buy. The stock will tell you if you're right or wrong."
That's true.
Look, 100% right. Absolutely. But the big thing and why N is so important is it gives you the conviction and it gives you the ability to know, hey, look, am I going to put a huge position and really put a lot of risk on something that really doesn't have anything new or game changing? Absolutely not. That's going to be maybe a small trade. But when you find these companies that are clearly have a huge game changing way we work, live, and play. Those are the ones that are normally going to be most profitable, and those are the ones that you're going to have more conviction in and hopefully be able to capitalize on. So, this is the conviction piece, and it definitely plays into it overall.
By the way, one other place to find these stocks, and if you really want to do research, not only besides all the investment tools you can, what's the other place, Campos? Because you're the king of this.
Instagram,
You're close, really close. What are we
YouTube,
on? Yep, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
YouTube's a great
Well,
place to find this.
Reddit
So,
is another. So basically, one of the things I love to do is social media, and I guess this is a good expansion because looking through social media and looking through YouTube and forums. So if you find a company that you're like, what is this? I'll give another perfect example. Expel. So I came across that through my routine, same way Steve would say, where you just there's some fundamentals stand out at me, and I'm like, a paint protective company. What is this company doing that's changing the way we work, live, and play at all, if anything? And I went to YouTube, and it was clear that a lot of Tesla owners, that's like the first thing they do when they get the car. So there's just it's funny because you'll be like, what is this company? How are they changing the way we work, live, and play? You go on YouTube, you go on any of these things, it will jump out
can,
at you in
can I
two
stop you? If
seconds.
you're not
Yeah.
in an industry, sometimes it's not
Oh
readily
yeah.
apparent until
I
you
don't.
do that research. You're 100% right.
I would have never in a million years thought of. There's so many things that you don't think of.
Yep, yep.
And another good thing, another tip is Instagram. If it's a stock that seems to be more in the my type of age group, millennial type of age group, a great thing to do to see how popular it is, just simply find them on Instagram, see how many followers they have, and compare them to other companies that you know that are maybe similar in the industry. Um, it'll tell you a lot about kind of what their exposure is in that space.
All
Just
right.
another little tip.
Well, we hope this podcast gave you a great understanding of how in new relates to our economy, the new market leaders, and charts. Again, we didn't get really much into charts, but hopefully you'll understand. This concept is a game changer once you grasp it and buy stocks that have the N in new, and it will also greatly enhance your portfolio.
Absolutely.
That's
That's all I
it.
got. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, email, Instagram, both of our Twitters, Discord channel. If you have not yet joined, there is a invite in the description down below. So please feel free to join our Discord. Been a great community over there. But yeah, other than that, that is all that I got for this
Yeah,
week.
wait. And if you want to elaborate more on the N in Cancelim, please, by all means, reach out to us on Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that is it.
Endure the pain of discipline.
Stay disciplined.